Honestly, how many franchises can boast of standing the test of time the way Castlevania has? Case in point, I only got to play Dracula X when it came as part of that PSP bundle, and I picked up Castlevania 3 and Bloodlines for the first time about a decade after they were created. And still, each one kept me absorbed for weeks. To me, they're perfect examples of what classic 2D action is all about. But it's also been a decade since Castlevania made its first jump to 3D, both with the original N64 game and its beefed-up expansion, Castlevania Legacy of Darkness. And as fate would have it, here was another Castlevania game that took me at least a decade to pick up. That's all the people whining, bitching, oh no, it's such a disgrace to name Castlevania. Kinda kept me away until now. Oh. Time to find out. So, time to pop my cart with the ripped up label into the N64 with ripped up stickers. Why does every used N64 you get at a pawn shop have to have stickers? When you first pop it in, you start out as this werewolf guy, Cornell, who has to set out and rescue his little sister. His part of the game is set in 1844, 8 years before the events in the initial N64 release, and sort of serves as a prequel. Returning from that game are Reinhard Schneider and Carrie Fernandez, and their adventures have been revamped and expanded upon. There's even a fourth character, Henry Oldry, who has a unique setup that I'll explain later. All four characters basically control the same. You have different button layouts to choose from, but I was fine with the default. That's where A is jump, and B launches your long-range attack. Cornell launches this sonic boom thingy, Reinhardt, of course, has the vampire killer, Carrie has a chargeable magic blast, and Henry has a shotgun. Yeah, a Castlevania character with a gun. Hey Konami, why not give Solid Snake summon spells and a magic staff? Oh, shut up! The C buttons perform a variety of functions, like chucking your sub-weapon, toggling camera modes, interacting with objects, and a short-range attack. Check out Carrie's short-range attack. She just waves around some rings she got on loan from Dr. Robotnik. Hitting R lets you quickly recenter the camera, and hitting Z lets you slide and zoom under obstacles. And for some reason, you can also slide upstairs. Okay, that makes no sense. But what can you expect from a game where it's safe to eat the roast chicken dropped by the flaming bats Dracula pulls out of his ass? Okay, I won't lie, I didn't jive with the controls right away, but after a while, I really did feel like it was a good approximation of Castlevania in 3D. But is the gameplay just like good old Castlevania? Well, yes! And by that, I mean it felt like the old-school Castlevanias in 3D, because at this time, Symphony of the Night had yet to become the de facto standard. Damn it, even the simple act of whacking candles and picking up money bags brought back fond memories of playing the original Castlevania as a kid. And remember those pickups that boost your attack power to a maximum level of 3? Oh yeah, those are here too. But instead of your sub-weapons being fueled by heart points, like in most Castlevania games, here you get jewels like in Castlevania Bloodlines. You know, I've always found it funny that in a series that usually has macho male leads, the sub-weapons are powered by girly things like hearts and jewels. Speaking of sub-weapons, most of the classic ones return, and if you can get more than one of a kind, you can power those up to a maximum of 3 as well. Very fun, especially the exploding axes. I usually stuck with the cross in the old school games though, but here, I found the axe in Holy Water much more satisfying and useful. But as always, the dagger will make you go. There's no branching paths like in Castlevania 3 and Dracula X, but the linear level path each of the 4 characters goes through is different enough to make replays interesting. And there's one great thing about a lot of the levels that really gives that old school Castlevania vibe: the crazy-ass platforming. Seriously, you are all over the place in this fucking game, and I dare say that most of the time the platforming action is even more thrilling than Super Mario 64. But what about that classic Castlevania challenge? Oh yeah, it's here. The platforming is plenty hard as it is, and there's this one segment where you gotta transport a magical bomb. If you jump or get hit, it goes off. Look at this shit. I'm forced to walk along these narrow walkways while these lizard men belch up flames at me. What the fuck? Now I gotta make it through these gears without getting crushed. Can I do it? Can I do it? Yeah! Can't touch this! Yeah! Almost there! Now all I gotta worry about is skeletons on motorcycles with machine guns. Oh snap, can I make it past these freaks? Ah, fuck your shit! Thankfully, not all the new ideas that Legacy of Darkness brings to the table are as weird as that shit. One brilliant idea that I wish you'd see in more Castlevania games is actually having to fight other vampires besides Dracula. And if they take a bite out of you, you have to use a special item to avoid becoming a vampire yourself. Vampires in maid outfits? Okay, you just know someone out there was beating off to that, but who am I to judge? Ah! Get off of me! Child molester! You still fight plenty of the traditional Castlevania enemies. Bats, bone pillars... But seriously, what is up with those skeletons riding motorcycles, if you don't mind my axing? Ah, another classic Castlevania monster, Frankenstein, who's now some sort of crazed gardener who stopped by KFC. Oh shitballs, Medusa heads! Yeah, they still pop up from time to time, but for some reason, there's none in the clock tower. How can you not have Medusa heads in the clock tower? Oh well, might as well take advantage of it. Ah, shit! Ugh, maybe it's time to, for lack of a better term, switch gears. Because even though the game packs plenty of Castlevania goodness, there are some glaring flaws. One thing I really hate about the controls is that you have to hold on to the jump button to grab onto ledges. You're bound to forget sometimes, and when you do, well... Another big problem is the game's camera. You're given a lot of ways to tinker with it, but still, it's hard to get it right where you want sometimes. Especially if your back's to a wall and you want it behind you. God damn, that's disoriented! Will that fucking camera make up its mind? The camera bullshit is exacerbated by the targeting system. It's kind of like an awkward mix between Zelda Ocarina of Time's lock-on and the Tomb Raider auto-target. Holding R will let you lock onto an enemy in boss and battle view. It works fine when you've got only one enemy, though. If you got a lot of things on screen like Death and his scythes, it gets really awkward. Also, this game has a day-night system, much like Castlevania 2 did, but it caused far more unnecessary bullshit here than in that game. Sure, it's a nice realistic touch, but you'll come across doors and barriers that you can only get past if it's the right time of day. If it's not, you have to use these magic items called Sun Cards and Moon Cards to move time forward. This really isn't a problem with Cornell's game, but you're on a clock to get the best ending as Henry, and Reinhardt and Carrie get bad endings if they use too many cards. I don't need this bullshit! Even worse is the Villa level, where you gotta be right there in the Rose Garden as dawn breaks, waiting for that stupid vampire bitch Rosa. Using a Sun Card won't work, so if it's a long way till morning, you got no choice but to stand around with your thumb up your ass. Yeah, fuck that bitch's roses, gonna trample them good! On second thought, maybe I shouldn't take out my aggression on these roses. How to make up for it? I know, fertilize them! But my biggest beef is when you first boot up the cart, you have to start as Cornell. He just wasn't that interesting of a character. He should have been fun to play as though, because hitting L turns him into a werewolf. Only one problem. This consumes jewel points, and you can't turn it off until he runs out. Why such a horrendous design choice? Imagine if it was the same story with Alucard's bat form in Castlevania 3! So the only time I ever really used his werewolf form was right at the end, when you face perhaps the most ridiculously cheap incarnation of Dracula there is. Look at this shit. Yeah, eat it, fuckface! Even worse, when you beat the game with Cornell, you don't unlock all three other characters, just Henry. And his gameplay is really screwy. Henry's got a few days of game time to find and rescue 6 kids in the castle. 2 of them will unlock Reinhardt and Carrie. I don't want to waste time playing some glorified game of hide-and-seek. I want to play as a Belmont descendant and his magical tweeny bopper sidekick! But once I was finally able to, that's when I started to see past my minor gripes and appreciate this game for what it was. I really regret never checking out this game sooner. Now, I definitely feel that Castlevania had found a perfect home on the N64, just as it had on the Genesis with Bloodlines. One look at those graphics let you know this was Castlevania, tailor-made for the Genesis, and that sort of 2D action felt perfect on Sonic's pad. Fuck, this part with the crushing pistons felt like it was right out of a Sonic game. Similarly, seeing those fuzzy, muddy N64 textures, which I was subjected to so much in the 3D debuts of Mario and Zelda, made me feel that this unique take on Castlevania was perfectly suited for the N64. But the graphics were really good for the time, and not only was Castlevania's gothic atmosphere still there, but it was suspenseful and bloody as well. Exactly the sort of game Nintendo's consoles needed back then. If you're a Nintendo fanboy who still can't stand hearing stuff like that, well, fuck you. And if you were hoping I was going to go all AVGN on this game, well, fuck you too. This is every bit worthy of the Castlevania name, and I give it an 8.5. Still, I'd be lying if I said I was 100% satisfied with any of the 3D Castlevania so far. But who knows, maybe the upcoming game Lords of Shadow will finally deliver. One thing so far makes me hopeful: Patrick Stewart being in the cast. Anything with him is almost guaranteed to be epic.
Hey Lois, sorry about the mess in the upstairs bathroom this morning. My post-sex peace stream forked in half last night and got everywhere.